Okay. Good morning, dear friends and the audience of this conference. My name is Чингисы. I came from Russia. Russia 사람입니다. Буряты. Yeah, and I working as a historian, and also we created a tourist information center, and I'm working there for a long time. Also, it was a big privilege to be here, and 5 years ago, the delegation from the institute, they came to the Baikal region, and they have some excavations, have some research in our area. And I would like to share my presentation about the historical, archaeological, connection between our region and your region, as far it is, but it's really close and really. Cultural, as I said, archaeological and genetic, because as you know, the genetic is Asian people, especially Mongol Buryat tribe, they close to the Korean genetic. And this is a map of Russia, and usually, as you imagine, Russia is mostly like Russian people, because Russian people consist of many other regions, and most of the Russians, they look like Caucasian people, the white people, the blonde hair. But you should see that a big part of the map is different colors. It's a different linguistic groups and different nations, and you can see the orange one. Here we go. It's people from the Mongolic language. It is really close to the Altai group. Also, this one is a Turk group, and this one is Hakkas and different nation. This you go. Here's Vladivostok. Here's the Japan comes, and Korea is right here. Okay, which means you can see that it's thousand peoples. They are different from the classical Russians. They look more like Asian people, okay? As I said, the huge number of the people, for ancient times, they look more oriented to the China, to the Beijing, because as I said, the Beijing and Chinese area was more like a center, and they pulsing, and to our very cold region came just an echo of this pulse. And this very interesting story about, I should then say the name, and you need to remember it, and please memorize it. I would like to say about Gustav Jon Ramstedt. Gustav Jon Ramstedt. Have you heard about this name, somebody of you? It's very important. Please, if I will not remember anything from my speech, but please remember this name, Gustav Jon Ramstedt. It was a very famous Russian and then Finnish scientist. He was a linguistic researcher, and he worked for the Russian government in Mongolia, in Tibet, and then he studied many languages, at least 10 languages he studied, and he spoke 5 very well. And Gustav Jon Ramstedt, he fundamental books about Altaic linguistic. And he studied about Ural, Altaic and Ugric, the group of family. And he joined to this big group, the Korean, this yellow, and the Japanese language. This man, Gustav Jon Ramstedt, he joined as a one group, and he said it was one exactly root. And he reconstructed a lot of work. He reconstructed Turkish-Mongolian route, and he said all it came probably from this area, All this, what you can see, almost all over the Asia, it came from one root. Of course, during the many of ages, it changes a lot. It changes characters, pronunciation, and so many different. But you should know that the changes in language come so quickly. I can say the very simple example. I was born in Soviet Union in Uzbekistan, and everybody of us can speak Russian, and all Uzbek people can speak a little bit in Russian language. Tajikistan, all of them can speak at least some Russian. But when I came last year to this area, it's Now this empire is ruined, and it started to shrink, the influence of the Russian language. And many of the young people, now they can't speak Russian at all. They can't speak Russian, they speak in their own language. Which means the changes in the linguistic sphere is coming so quickly, so quickly. It's just one generation passed, 200 years left that Russia occupied these territories, Tsar Russia. It was something 19th century, right? The 20th century was Soviet Union. They rise up the language, and now it's in 3 times less people can speak the Russian language. Which means, please remember this name, Gustav von Rundstedt. When the Finland started to be independent, he started to be ambassador in Japan. Also, he visited Korea, and he make a lot of books about the grammar of the Korean language and the Altaic language. It's very important. For the future researchers, you need to know that many people studied much more before, okay? The next man is I would like to say, I'm really proud of this man. His name was Bichurin. It was a Russian man. He was born in the central part of Russia. And he studied in St. Petersburg as a monk, Russian Christian Orthodox monk. And he was sent to the Beijing as a missionary, Russian Orthodox missionary. And he not really cared about the Christianity, about mission, but he really started to interest about ancient chronicles, about ancient books. And this Yakin, by the way, it's a name which given as a monk. And really his name is Nikita, but Bichurin. And he studied a lot. He studied a lot of ancient Chinese, Korean, and the Chinese chronicle about nations around the Yellow Empire. This is his main book, what was written in Russian, and when he came back to Russia, he started to be a big fan of the Asian lifestyle. For Russian, it's very important, the Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin, most famous writer and very important in Russian literature. Everybody knows him, and he was a really good friend of the Pushkin, and he even invited him to the China, and you need to see the Asian part of Russia. And this book is tell about the ancient tribe called Dunhu, Shunnu, He write a lot about this. Next one I would like to say, because in Russian tradition we're saying about the people who studied this question before. It's very important to know bibliography, who studied this issue before. And this very important man, his name Alexei Okladnikov. Alexei Okladnikov, he was an archaeologist, and he excavated the Malta and Buryatia. It's very important. They found the Paleology and Neolithic period in the Siberia, and he found a lot of similarity with the Tungusic Manchurian tribes and the Buryat tribes, ancient Siberian tribes. Alexei Okladnikov. And also, big information we can take from the petroglyphs in our area. Petroglyphs means, Petros means stone, and glypho is like characters, imagine on the character. You can see here the classical imagine. This is a symbol of the birds, and also in the very top, right here, you can see kind of moose. The moose. It's very often you can see near the Baikal Lake, and also this very close, very same I can see in your national museum. Next one is a symbols of the man. You can see the horns. Probably it's maybe shaman people, and a lot of them is situated near Baikal Lake. It was made more than 10,000 years ago. Next one is the map of the culture of the graves. This is where I'm living, the Baikal Lake. And this area is now modern Mongolia, the Manchuria, and the northern China. This place where is a lot of graves we found it. A lot of graves we found. And this how it looked like, tiled graves. You can see easy in a step the big stones, and I excavated some of, not me, I was not a chief, I was like a member of these expeditions. And we found a lot of them. I have, this is in museum, you can see one type, it's these tile graves, and in the background here, you can see we call this Kereksur. Kereksur is like also artifact we can find a lot in our area. In this, how to say, graves is idea that we visited with your expedition, this territory. This how they look like from these tile graves. Mostly they look like a modern people of the Buryat region. They look like more like Asian type of people. And it was rebuilt by the famous Russian sculptor Gerasimov in the St. Petersburg. Next one, the Kereksur culture look like a little bit differently because the graves is more like Asian people. The Kereksur people, they more like European way face. The white people, we can say, Caucasian. And you can see the similarity from Kereksur culture with your culture, especially in ceramic, in some ring bells, and also in daggers. And you probably, I have seen that you have a special report about the Korean daggers and how you're studying, and so many similarity. But maybe it comes the same in all over the world. Next one, this territory for next step, it's also came this information from the Yakin Bichurin books. He said it's in the very center here. It's a nation called Dinlin, from the west, Yuech, and Shunnu. And here is a tribe called Dunghu. And I believe strongly that Dunghu and Shunnu was quite close to each other, and they speak it's Proto-Mongolian language. But of course it's under the, we can discuss about it, because some people thinking that Shunnu language is disappeared, it's now not exist anymore. Some people really believe that it's a Turkish language, like a pro-Turkish. It's the strongest idea. But as for me, because I'm part of the Mongolian world and I'm living there, I believe that Dunghu and Shunnu, they was like a pre-ancestor for the modern Mongolian tribe, Mongolian and the Buryat tribe, of course. And here you can see a lot of similarity. And as I say, Yakin Bichurin, he studied ancient Chinese chronicles, which some of them was disappeared, and he bring to the Russian Empire Science Court. He bring a lot of the originals, and he said it was the Proto-Mongolian tribe. As I said, Dinling, Yuech is more like Indo-Persian tribe, Shunnu and Dunghu. Then this was moved to the west. And last 3 years we excavated near Ulan-Ude a big grave. It's called Ilmavapad, and we found a lot of interesting material here. And here I can show you the similarity with the Korean decoration, because here you can see how the same suggests changes in many cultures, because the first one came from the western part of the Greece, and you can see there's a lot of time, a lot of material, and in our territory this changes year by year. It's going to more and more simple one. You can see this tree and this gods comes to more geometrical figures. And you can see how it changes. And finally, number 5, we have a lot in our territory. This started to be very, very simple. Like animals, holy tree, and the running around is represent the fertility. The idea of this symbol is fertility. The next one, It's in our region called Diristui. Diristui, you can see how the hunting for the boar and how it changes the difference. And also, next one, you can see the idea, the plot of 4 snakes. See, number 1 is coming. The snakes is mixing with each other, and now it's going to be more and more simple. And I have seen in your museum also very same this sujet. I don't know where it came from, but we can find a lot in our territory. These snakes is sneaking around, and you can see the transformation of sujet. The next one is this bucklets came from the horse harness. In the very beginning, you can see this very complicated. You can see even the horse heads and the hooves, and then it's going more and more simple. Why? Because you can see this in our life, the utility stuff going from the complicated form to more simple one. Also, this bucklets, and you can see this decoration. It's a birds coming from in a line, staying in line. Then it's going more and more simple, and finally we can see this very simple sujet. And I saw in Seoul National Museum very same sujet also. Also this bucklet for the belt, and you can see from number 1 to number 8, the changes, how it's transformed to more and more simple. And 9 to 12, it's a sujet or idea about the bear, the comb, okay? This how it look like comb, and more and more simple. And now you can see here, but this idea, it came from the number 9, okay? Because for us and for the Shunnu people, the bear was a sacred and holy animal, okay? Also, it's a big also links with the Middle East, and you can see this came from the Middle East, even maybe from Iran, I don't know exactly. This idea, of the also fertility. They see these 2 oxes, this man sitting on the back of the ox, and this water, 2 big cats, and this also cat and some bird attacking the ox. And you can see in our territory the same sujet. See, this is very popular in graves of the Shunnu culture. If you see, here is from the Hafaya, it's also in Iran. And you can see there's the same sujet in, in Shunnu tribes. It's a mistake, it's not from Greece, it's from the Iran. And final plots, see there's 2 oxes, and also this one I even hold it in my hands. This oxes, but you should know that many people saying that Shunnu people was like a barbarian, and the Chinese explaining them as a barbarian, wild people. But in really you can see this oxes, which means it was probably some agricultural, which they were very cultural people. And many ideas and plots they take from the western part of world. Probably it was a big trade gates. And finally, this what I'm believing that this grave culture, it came here, but Dunhu people, which is belonging to the Mongolian tribe, I believe in that it's joining to somehow to the Korean peninsula through these ideas. And finally, this what we excavated in, and next summer, we will make another expeditions, and because in Siberia it's a lot of place and field for researching in really. And I hope that next time I will give you in my my article more information about this topic. And I'm really thankful that you invited me. And thank you very much for your attention. 감사합니다.